Well, overall, I just like to serve the public. I was a public servant in government for 36, 37 years. When I was elected, I said I would quit, and I don't think you don't have to. I thought it was a little bit of conflict, but I'm at the point in my life I want to continue to serve the public. And I think that in order to do that, you have to understand as a legislature that you actually work for the people of Montana. They're your employer. And you have to listen to them, and there's going to be a lot of, you still have to follow the Constitution, and you have to follow your conscience. You try to do what's the right thing for the most people you can and look toward the future with our kids and our grandchildren. But, I just enjoy serving the public. But I'm not, I don't do a lot of legislation. I was on appropriations. As a freshman, I was chair of the subcommittee for appropriations on corrections, justice, judiciary. And I don't think it was because I'd worked with the legislature prior to being elected, probably 25 years, presenting budgets, presenting policy, that type of thing. And I think that's why I was chosen for that role, just because of my knowledge of budgets and how government works. I can't imagine, and I don't know everything about it either, but when someone comes here for the first time and they've never been involved with government, they don't know the process, it's just got to be totally overwhelming. I think we even had somebody last session that never even been to Helena, let alone find your way around the Capitol, but how the whole process works. It's especially the first few days. You're bombarded. But no, I enjoy serving the public.
So are there any major issues that you think you would like to see go forward this next year?
We're going to have a lot of major issues. People talk about the so-called surplus, and it goes from 420 million, then it's up to 450 million. It's good that we do have money in the bank. However, we've got a huge issue coming down with state pensions. They're not actuarially sound. And we're going to have to address that this session. We've got the issue of there are a number of state employees who haven't received a raise for 3 years. And that's going to have to be addressed. Now, I'm not certain what that raise is going to be. As we know, there's one proposal out there. But we're going to have to provide some increase for those people that have not received an increase, which will be going on 4 years. We've got the issues, not just here, with water and sewer systems, but the impact in eastern Montana with the oil development. Cost of housing is sky high. It's hard to maintain employees when you can go in the oil fields, which they're great jobs, and I support that. But I don't think people really understood what the impact was going to be. Crime, schools, just water and sewer. You need to expand, you need to follow the guidelines. We've got to, by the Constitution, there was a bill that was vetoed by the governor that we're going to have to provide another $40 million for education. There's probably going to be another supplemental $40 million or more for firefighting. There wasn't enough. This was a bad season. And there's also possible cuts coming from the feds to Medicaid, law enforcement. And if that happens, we're going to have to prioritize our spending in order to backfill. So government isn't an end-all. However, government provides a service to those people who need it most. And you have your disabled people, you have your seniors. And we're going to have to find a way to fund those important programs without increasing taxes, but you also have to have a structural balance for the future. Some people call it a rainy day fund, some people call it this and that, but this year is a good example with the fires. You need an ending fund balances that can get you through emergencies. You can't spend all the money.
Right.
So there are going to be a lot of issues facing this legislature.
What would you say is your major difference between you and your opponent?
I really couldn't say as far, I don't know what my opponent is really talking about out there. And I personally don't get into, I don't get into negative things regarding my opponent. I really never even hardly mention the person's name. I mean, I just try to focus on what I hear from the people, and by listening and going through that, what I think is the best for Montana. So you know, I honestly couldn't say what my opponent, how it would actually differ. You know.
How about qualifications?
Well, I think I do differ there. I mean, you know, my opponent's been involved in some boards and stuff, but I managed multi-million-dollar budgets for years, and being on appropriations and having the opportunity in the off time being on interim finance committee, I'm able to receive a lot of, listen to a lot of presentations, receive a lot of information, which prepares for the next session. It's complicated. You know, I mean, you can't, it's easy to spend money, but you have to be creative in how you spend the money that's necessary to provide the programs to the people with the most need, including a quality education system, including, you know, by the Constitution, we can't dictate to the university system that they don't raise tuition. However, we do provide a budget, and we need to work with the university system to try to curtail the cost of post-education. I mean, I'm all for small business. I'm for, people say responsible, I'm for intelligent development of all our natural resources, which do provide good paying jobs, which do provide resources to pay for the programs that we need to operate. But we have to do that a step at a time, and we have to follow the Constitution. And, you know, I mean, there's some times when people don't realize, and I think we have an excellent state constitution, but there are things that, you know, people want things done, and you just can't do it, because you do have to follow the Constitution. So I think just my experience working with the legislature for all those years, and then having the opportunity to serve on the committees I did last time, and actually I've developed a lot of relationships with both both Democrats and Republicans, and I think that's important. Again, you're not always going to agree on everything, but, you know, we were able to, and it was bipartisan in some ways. You know, I mean, we were able to deal with the workman's comp issue, small business equipment tax, and some other things. You know, there's always talk about how the budget was cut, but in many cases it wasn't. The proposed increases were cut, I think, by about 5 or 6%. But for example, in my committee, I didn't go with a straight 5% cut to every agency. And I don't think you can do that. You need to look at each agency, what they provide, do the programs provide the service needed, and you deal with that individually. I'm not in favor of just blank, across-the-board cuts. Yeah, I don't think it works.
Okay, good. All right, anything else you want to add about why people should vote for you? You just got the experience. And
well,
definitely.
but again, you know, I pride myself on being able to work with others, you know, and I have developed relationships with both sides, and I think that's very important. Unlike Congress right now, it's just a gridlock, and everybody has their ideals. Everybody has, and they have their principles, and that's fine. But, and I don't know if the word is compromise, it's more, you have to work together to solve problems for the people of Montana, and I think I have a proven record of doing that.